This video will review the build console with the new capabilities introduced with the 2.0808 update. To get started, I'll open the build console by clicking on the HUD build button here. You can also optionally press the default F2 key. A list of the cargo you are currently carrying on your ship is displayed here, and you can see that I have 10 bays of 50 units each of metal ore. While you can use the indicator out in front of your ship directly from the cockpit for quick build or deploy operations, it's best to switch to the overhead view with the button here when constructing station modules. Once in the overhead view, a layout grid appears and instructions are displayed at the top of the console to help guide you through each step of the build process. You can move the mouse pointer over the grid area to select a build point. To select a specific build module, click on the one you want from the list on the right side here. Once a module is selected, the indicator will change shape to match the module, and you can place it in the build area by simply left-clicking anywhere on the grid. Once the build point is locked, green arrows will appear around the indicator, which will let you trim the placement in 50 coordinate unit intervals in the direction the arrows are facing. I'll do that now to illustrate moving the build point around. If you select a different module, the shape will change and the arrows will reposition to accommodate the size of the module selected. The indicator may also change color with different build locations and module types. I'll cover that later. For now, we'll focus on control options. When a build point is locked, you'll see a notice appear here at the top of the console indicating the locked condition, and also showing which coordinate directions are locked. In the default overhead view mode, all three directions, X, Y, and Z, will be locked anytime you select a build point. To unlock the build point, click on the Unlock Build Point button here. The green trim arrows will disappear, and you can then reposition the build point with the mouse pointer. Once locked again, the green trim arrows will reappear, and the lock notice will also reappear at the top. Next, we'll cover the panning view mode. To activate that mode, simply click and hold the right mouse button anywhere over the build area, then move the mouse around. This will let you pan the view around the build area to more easily determine vertical elevation, as well as different horizontal directions. You'll also see the green arrows disappear and the lock notice change to indicate that only the X and Z coordinates remain locked. This is because the panning view mode lets you set the Y coordinate, or elevation, directly as a second step in plotting the build point. Simply move the mouse up and down to set the build point where you want it vertically. For now, I'll set it back to the same level as the build grid. Simply left-click again to lock the Y elevation, and the green arrows will reappear again to indicate a fully locked position with trim options. You can click on the green arrows to trim the build location just as in the default overhead view mode, including all the way out to the limit of the build area. You can use the panning view mode and build coordinates displayed in the upper right corner of the console to verify exact placement. When you have set the build location precisely where you want it, simply click on the build button to begin the construction process. Again, you can use the panning view to move around the build area to gauge and measure placements and alignments. As mentioned earlier, the build indicator will change color based on availability. The indicator needs to be yellow or green to build at a selected location. Yellow will indicate a disconnected build point, while green will indicate connected. You don't have to connect station modules together in open space, but it can improve design efficiency if you do connect them by being able to fit more modules in range of dependent types, such as power and shield modules. Such modules will generally need to be within around 500 coordinate units to provide linked capabilities. You can see as I move this build point around how it will be yellow when disconnected from the module I just built and green when at a connected point. To connect another module to the previous one, I simply place the indicator at the green indicated point, then left-click to set the X and Z position, then adjust to align on Y, and left-click again to fully lock in the build point. If I switch to a module of a different size, the build system will automatically adjust the build point to accommodate the newly selected module. If I switch to a power module, you'll see that I can move the build indicator away from the original module and it remains green. This is because a power module doesn't have a link dependency for energy since it provides its own, so it can be built anywhere as a starting point to place other dependent modules around. But since I'm building this power module second, I'll go ahead and attach it to the original module anyway and start the construction process. Now let's say I want to build another attached module, but I accidentally place it one step too far away because of viewing angle or accidental click. With the trim arrows, I can easily bring it back to where I want it and get the green indicator. If I move the build location too close to another module, such as the command module, the indicator will turn red to indicate an invalid build point. I can also just use the trim arrows to move the build point all the way out to the front of the original module, then switch to a production module type, Then build with locked placement and automatic adaptive offset adjustments for scaling provided by the build system. Now let's say we want to move the entire build grid area vertically to a different elevation. As long as our ship is level, we can use the vertical thrusters with the build mode active to move the entire build area down vertically. I'll set the build plane below the command module and level with the other lower modules. Once I reach the location, I can simply stop moving the ship and the build grid will now be aligned with the new level I wanted. Then from there, I can go ahead and start selecting build locations that are level with the other pre-built modules. If I pan around and realize that I've made a placement mistake, I can again use the trim arrows from any angle to make adjustments. Then once calibrated, start the build process. Adding more modules just involves repeating the process. Another useful option is zoom control. Using the external view zoom keys, or buttons you may have mapped, or the mouse wheel, you can zoom in and out over the build area. This can be used in conjunction with the panning view control for more alignment precision and/or a broader overview of the entire build area. City building uses a simplified system since it doesn't involve 3 dimensions of coordinates and modules are designed to operate more independently without connection points. Only the horizontal placement is needed, so you can simply move the build indicator to any location in the build area with one single plane of elevation. The build indicator will generally be green most of the time, but will switch to red based on proximity to other modules or if the terrain is not compatible for required placement. Once you select a build location by left-clicking with the mouse, you can click on the Build button to start construction. That covers the build console along with the new features and options added in the 2.0808 update. Refer to the game's documentation for additional details.